Good evening. Welcome to the November 12th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Mike Kincaid.
Present.
Keith Campbell is absent this evening. Sandra Jasanowski. Present. Dick Robertson.
Here.
John Copeland.
Here.
Sierra Messenger.
Present.
Robert Hawkins.
Here.
Thank you.
We will begin tonight with the, we don't have minutes, right? So we have the swearing in for the Lebanon Fire Department. Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we have the pleasure of swearing in Preston Appleset to the rank of lieutenant and Sam Doherty to the rank of captain. I can't say enough about these two individuals. They just are assets to our department, to our community. And I'd like to start off by introducing Preston and bringing him up along with his family. Preston came to us as a lateral transfer firefighter. He was an immediate fit, excuse me, on the department. Very well educated, very humble. His firemanship is second to none. His technical knowledge is top notch. And Preston just has a leadership quality about him that you can feel if you're around him for very long. And we're just so happy that he chose to come to Lebanon Fire and finish his career. We're really excited about him being in the rank of lieutenant. And we have quite a few firefighters in the audience, so I'm going to say something that they can tease him a little bit about. I'm hoping someday that Preston would be interested in joining the admin offices. He has like I said, the leadership quality about him. He's operationally empathetic. He's fiscally responsible, and he puts his firefighters first, and that's what we're looking for as chief officers at the Lebanon Fire Department. So, Preston.
I state your name.
I, Preston Appleset,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana
and all laws and ordinances
and all laws and ordinances
of the City of Lebanon,
of the City of Lebanon,
and follow all true orders
and follow all true orders
of the officers appointed over me.
of the officers appointed over me.
And I will faithfully discharge my duties
And I will faithfully discharge my duties
as Lieutenant of the Lebanon Fire Department
as a lieutenant of the Lebanon Fire
to
Department
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Needless to say, this organization makes me happy to come to work. These guys, you don't understand what kind of atmosphere they've created with Lebanon Fire Department. It is something special. And I can speak to that because I've had other experiences, and these guys are what makes it special. Each one of these individuals. I want to say thanks to Chief Batts for giving me the opportunity. I'm a little older in the years, and to him take a chance on me is really something special. But him and the other chiefs have created something that is bar none the best I've been around. I enjoy coming to work, and I'm proud to be a Lebanon firefighter. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead. As you can see, the Lebanon Fire Department endorses No Shave November. It pretty much looks like a mustache convention back there. Next, I would like to invite up Sam Doherty. And I'm going to take several minutes and brag on Sam Doherty. Even before he joined the Lebanon Fire Department, he was a camp counselor at the Hoosier Burn Camp. Sam has a servant's heart. He always puts others first. Since the moment he stepped in the door at Lebanon Fire, he had a thirst for knowledge to be the best firefighter he could be, always educating himself. The comments I made about him during the Board of Works meeting, just continuing that education all the time. And we were so happy that he wanted to step up into the rank of being a captain. And I'm going to echo the same comments that I did about Preston. Sam Doherty has the characteristics to be an administrative chief. And I'm sure over the next couple of days, he's going to catch a little bit of grief about that with the crews. But I believe in Sam as a person, as a brother firefighter, as a family man. He's just one of the best there is. And we're so proud that we can call him one of our own. I'd like to introduce Sam Doherty.
All right, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Sam Doherty,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
all laws and ordinances
and all laws and ordinances
of the City of Lebanon,
of the City of Lebanon,
and follow all true orders
and follow all true orders
of the officers appointed over me.
of the officers appointed over me.
And I will faithfully discharge my duties
And I will faithfully discharge my duties
as a captain of the Lebanon Fire Department
as a captain of the Lebanon Fire Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Okay, I wrote something up. All right, I want to start by thank you all for this incredible honor and responsibility. I'm humbled and deeply grateful for the trust you've placed in me to serve as the B shift captain. I'm not standing here alone, as everyone I've worked with during my time here at Lebanon Fire has had a part in my journey. I want to thank my chiefs, my peers, my family, but most of all, my wife, Caitlin, and my kids, Lincoln and Aubrey, for their support through the years. I look forward to continue serving this great city in the highest capacity in my new role. Thank you.
If you want to explain, we'll stand in a quick recess. If I assume they don't want to stay for the meeting. So with that, we'll send a recess till the fall of gavel.
So we're going to go downstairs before we do.
All right, we'll re-adjourn our Lebanon City Council meeting. I just want to wish Preston and Sam congratulations on their new roles. They've been great servants and public servants for the city of Lebanon. I think they'll do great in their new roles. So with that, we'll move on to old business now, the City Council agenda. First item up is ordinance 2024-32, ordinance establishing a water rate district and rates and charges for the use of services, use and services provided by the Waterworks utility to the LEAP district. And this is ordinance on second reading. Jeff Jacob.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jeff Jacob. I'm attorney with Hackman Hewlett and the Lebanon Utility Attorney. I'm here tonight with Ryan Ottinger, the wastewater water operations manager, Ed Baskell, and Scott Miller from Baker Tilly. We talked about this ordinance as it's at second reading a few weeks ago, but I want to go through a few high points for anyone that was not here last meeting. Before you tonight is a rate and district ordinance, and in the name, as it implies, does two things. First, it establishes and defines the LEAP district for water rate purposes. And that's the area that encompasses all previous LEAP-related annexations, and then the annexations phases 25 through 35, which are in front of you tonight. The second thing that the ordinance does is it establishes rates and charges for water use and related services exclusively within the LEAP district. It's very similar to what you've seen in our previous rate ordinance. It mirrors it in almost all respects, save for a few details and areas, specifically the rates. And that is a point that I want to make sure that is heard tonight, that this ordinance does not impact what is known as the Lebanon Civil District water rates at all. This is exclusively for the LEAP district. Now, if you recall, some months ago, the utility board approved a water supply agreement for 25 million gallons of water per day as a secondary source for the city of Lebanon and including the LEAP district. The goal in this rate district, the goal in that water supply agreement has been to protect the non-LEAP ratepayers from the substantial infrastructure cost of bringing secondary water source to the city of Lebanon. And we believe that this is one step, an additional step towards that. And as you'll see in other documents that will be coming to you in the following months, you'll see that highlighted as an important element from the utility board. That is not to say, however, that the infrastructure and the additional water will not benefit the non-LEAP district or the Lebanon Civil Rate District. In fact, we would argue it very much will. There'll be additional water supply for that area. There will be enhanced infrastructure that will benefit the Lebanon Civil Rate District, but those costs, again, are being isolated to the LEAP district. Scott Miller is here to do the heavy lifting to discuss the rate, but one item I'd just point out is that this ordinance does come to you with a unanimous recommendation from the Utility Service Board by way of the resolution. Thank you. Scott?
Before you jump away, Jeff, any questions for Jeff before we have Scott Miller from Baker Tilly? No, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Mayor, Council, good evening. I'll be brief since we went through this the last time. Everybody should already have a copy of our report, but let's put it the right way. On the screen is a copy of the estimated project costs that Lebanon will incur to install infrastructure out to the LEAP district area to provide that water. Those costs will be repaid through two main components. One, an availability fee, similar to what other customers in the civil district pay, and then also through a portion of their monthly rates and charges for water usage in the LEAP district. So as we look at the costs and look at designing a rate structure, the first thing we looked at was the availability fee. And to keep the fee competitive and attractive to potential development, we've proposing in the rate ordinance to establish the fee at $5,200 per EDU. So that will generate at full build out about $140 million of those project costs that are needed to get infrastructure in that area. So that will be a portion of the revenue coming in and will be paid as customers connect and come to connect to the LEAP district. So $5,200 is that piece in the rate ordinance. And then the monthly rates and charges that are in the rate ordinance are really made up of three parts. The first part, the capital rate, is the debt service piece that will be used. We'll be issuing bonds to finance the Lebanon portion of the project, and then also citizens will be issuing bonds to finance their portion of the project. So a portion of the monthly rate LEAP users will pay will be to retire that debt. The second piece is for the actual cost of the water. We'll be buying water wholesale from citizens. And we've got incorporated the cost of the water, the actual commodity there in the rate. And then the third piece is the additional cost that Lebanon will encourage us to operate all of these new facilities. We've got elevated in-ground storage tanks, pump stations, miles of line that will need to be operated and maintained. So that is that component. All three together total $8. So it'll be $8 per 100 cubic feet. And again, just to reiterate what Jeff said, this is the rate just for LEAP. This is not impacting the civil rate district at all.
Hey, Scott, I do have a quick question on this. Obviously, it's commodity rate. I mean, citizens can, go through the IURC, that rate can change. Does that then require us to come back and amend our own rate as well, or will it kind of float with based on whatever citizens sets the rate at?
That's a great question. Jeff and I just talked about that earlier today. Citizens is regulated by the Utility Regulatory Commission, and they will have the opportunity whenever they think it's necessary to go and adjust that portion of the rate or adjust their wholesale rate. When that happens, given the amount of dollars we're talking about because of the anticipated amount of sales, then what I would recommend is that Lebanon take that additional cost and pass that on to the LEAP customers in the form of a tracking factor, just like what you do with the electric utility on a quarterly basis right now. So whatever that incremental cost increase is, that just gets passed on as a direct pass-through.
Okay. So, but that's not necessarily contemplated in this ordinance, but that's something we could do at a later date, or,
Yeah,
or
it
we
would
know
come
for
up,
sure it's
right. It would come up whenever citizens did something. Yeah, we would we'd calculate what that because just the way the math works, their increase isn't the same as what your increase would be. So we would calculate what that number needs to be and then come back to you with that proposal.
Okay, thank you. Was there anything else, Scott? Sorry, I kind of jumped in there early, but is there
No, that's all I had, unless there are other questions.
Are there any other questions for Scott? So also then thinking, obviously way down the line, probably if we talk about retiring of the bonds. Similarly, when essentially the debt's paid off, right, then that rate would adjust again as well?
Yeah, we have the same statutory requirement in the LEAP district as we do in the civil district. We have to charge rates that are supported by statutory revenue requirements, debt service being one of them. Once those bonds are gone, if we don't have some other cost to replace that component with, the rate would go down. And I think the intent, both from our perspective and from the state's perspective, is to get these bonds paid off as quickly as possible. So if development happens the way we would all like it to, hopefully we can do that sooner than the scheduled maturity of the bonds. They'll be able to be prepaid at any time, and when they're paid off, that will have a reduction in the rate.
Then at the last meeting, and I know we covered this last time, but I wanted to, if you could touch on, you just said just $8, right? That's not how our civil rate works. If you could talk a little bit, the differences between the two and why it's a flat $8 versus a tiered rate.
Yeah, your existing rate structure is a declining block rate structure. So as you use more water, the price per unit actually goes down. Not terribly uncommon in this part of the country. But we're seeing more and more changes away from that, just recognizing the cost and the value of the commodity itself, the water. So in LEAP, it just made sense to have a single flat rate for all usage, because it's going to be especially starting out, very similar usage in terms of industrial constant flow all the time. And it just made more sense to do it that way. And then over time, we at least are having preliminary discussions about possibly looking at the same thing for the civil district as well, separate and apart from LEAP, but looking at that down the road.
I have a question, Scott. If a residential development occurs in the LEAP area, will those residents be paying more than if they were paying the civil rate?
Yes, the rate is higher in the LEAP district, so yes, they would. They'll pay the $8 per 100 cubic feet, just like any other LEAP customer. And your rates right now in the civil district for a residential usage would be less than that.
It's about $7.50, something like that for. Adam, maybe looking at you, maybe more. That's like seven,
Yeah.
mid-sevens,
Yeah.
$7 something. So it's about
Yeah,
50 cents
it's a
more.
little bit less, yeah.
Thank you.
Further questions? So as development in LEAP occurs, right, especially more on the residential side, we could redraw the territories of civil versus LEAP territories, correct? If we chose to do so, theoretically, I'm just saying theoretically, right? If that was a
Theoretically,
concern
yeah.
we had.
Yeah.
Obviously, the math is important there and how that all
Well,
works, but
the math and in that type of situation, we'd also, depending on when that would take place and what the status of the debt is, we might have some discussions that we'd need to have with the state on the financing, but yeah.
yep. Intuition.
And the issue is, it's right now, it's just more expensive water. We're piping it across the county and it costs more money than it does to pull it from our plant right now.
And in the residential district, if it's in the LEAP area, you wouldn't change that before that bond was paid, right? So you were saying to redistrict it to civil, you wouldn't do that until the bond was paid off, correct?
I mean, theoretically, again, I would maybe the districts of what's the LEAP rate versus what's the civil rate, that's decided by this council, right? So theoretically, this council would have the power to say, hey, we know that there's homes being built that are in the LEAP area now. We could change that and put that. It would impact the financing and things like that. So it would have to make sure we all still work. But theoretically, that could be changed if to do so. And that could be before the debt was paid off, but we'd have to work through that. But if the debt is retired, then at that point, it really wouldn't have any hangups there then, right?
Once the debt is gone, I don't think there's any issue. I think the potential issue we have from the debt perspective is we don't want to do anything that would accidentally make the debt taxable down the road. We're hoping to issue this tax exempt, and having residential mixed use development in the area helps with that. So we just need to be careful from that perspective, from a tax perspective on the bonds. But once the bonds are gone, yeah, we'd be free to do whatever we needed to or wanted to.
And once the bonds are gone, that's fine, yeah. I just wanted to make sure we didn't take a loss in redistricting.
Right, yeah. Again, there's no need today, obviously, and obviously we'll have to see how that, frankly, it'll be probably a decision someone else has to make, right? I certainly won't be here, so I'm not worried about it, but something to think about.
And long term too, I mean, we need to definitely keep things separate now, because we don't want all of the city existing customers to have to foot the bill for the huge costs that we're incurring, right? We need big users buying lots of water to pay that down. Over time though, and I'm talking in the 15, 20 or beyond year timeframe, I could envision seeing eventually the rates kind of being one rate structure for the entire city. But that's a long way off and would only happen once we were sure one side wasn't going to subsidize the other and pay more than they otherwise should.
Makes sense.
Just one more comment. I would like to see at some point in the future that new residential communities outside in the LEAP area pay the same water bill as, people in the civil area.
So when we do annexations too, we will declare whether it's in the LEAP area or in the civil area, right? So it's not like everything going forward from now on is LEAP. Like again, if there's neighborhoods south of town or east of town or whatever, as it's annexed in, we always say, hey, this is in council district 3 or 2, right? We define council district. We'll also then going forward, we'll say that's in the civil area or that's in the LEAP water rate. So we'll also define of where they are in that. So.
And it's important for people to understand that development pays for this infrastructure and not the current ratepayers.
That's been the hardest part, is getting this structured in a way that we are protecting and insulating our current ratepayers from not bearing this burden from it, where that it's LEAP is paying for LEAP, and that's something we've been pushing from the very beginning. And
I couldn't tell you the number of hours we've spent in conversations trying to make sure that happens with the with the state, both the IEDC and the Finance Authority, SRF, just making sure that everything clearly makes that abundantly clear that both parts are separate. And in fact, the bond documents that will come before you in a week or two are structured in a way that has that in writing in the trust agreement and the financial assistance agreement that we'll have with the state. It's very clear what is and is not pledged to the repayment of this debt.
Any further questions from Scott? Okay, Rob, I'll have you read the ordinance second reading, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2024-32 is an ordinance establishing a water service rate district and rates and charges for the use and services provided by the waterworks utility to the LEAP district. We read this in great detail at the last meeting, so I'm going to hit the highlights, and also Mr. Jacob and Miller touched on a big chunk of this anyway. So again, the LEAP district is defined in Exhibits A and B to this ordinance and can be further amended by this council. There's a civil water district rate, as Mr. Jacob and Miller talked about. When you get into essentially page 3, we start in what this council now finds. Again, a second water rate district is established, and that's known as the LEAP Water District. Again, the boundaries are set forth in Exhibits A and B. The civil water districts are not depicted in Exhibits A and B. There's several pages that talk about the rates, and again, what Mr. Miller was touching on with availability fees and the rates. I'll take you then to Section 8, which I think, again, addresses something that's important. The rates, charges, and fees set forth in this ordinance shall be reviewed every calendar year, again, to continue to look at the financial necessity of it. And Section 10 then just addresses that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and as required under Indiana law.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Ordinance been on second reading. Any further discussion from council? Is there any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-32? Jeff, close.
No, thank you for the council's support and look forward to finalizing some of these documents and in the future. So thank you.
All right. With that, then, I would entertain a motion concerning ordinance 2024-32.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-32.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. All right. Next up will be resolution 2024-22, which is the fiscal plan for the LEAP annexations for phases 25 through 35.
Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead and get this plugged in since I have the next 13 items, I believe. So make sure the laptop doesn't run out of juice. All right. So this is a fiscal plan associated with the 11 annexations that are on your agenda for second reading and potential adoption this evening. And with all fiscal plans, I will kind of jump to the back into the appendices and really just look at the summary. And the first part is the revenue side of this. And so what they've essentially done is they've looked at the assessed values of the 11 different annexations. And this is the cumulative total you'll see here is about 1.6 million. And this first column you see here. The second column is the estimated net assessed value of the city based on growth factors that you see here. Obviously, the total will be increased by the $1.6 million. And then the estimated property tax levy of the city, assuming the DLGF provided growth factors of 4% for each of these years. And then the estimated property tax rate, which, as you can see, our assessed value is growing faster than the tax levy. Thus, the estimated property tax rate is shown as decreasing slightly year over year. So that's showing you quickly the revenue side of it based on the assessed value of the annexed territories. And so I'll jump to the summary here of both the revenue and costs. And so a majority of these areas, actually a significant majority of the acreage is an agricultural use currently, and these are all in the LEAP district. There are a handful of them that are existing residential homes that will be certainly converted to something that's LEAP related in the future. But in terms of the costs that are anticipated as a result of these annexations, it's primarily with the street department and the police department, essentially to provide services both to maintain the roads on the street department side and to patrol the streets on the police department side. So this is essentially a factor of costs associated with the additional street miles that have been added to the city as a result of these annexations. So you can see starting in 2025, the assumed cost of $500 for the street department, $1,300 for the police department, and they have a growth factor that you can see here year over year. So you start about $1,800 total for 2025, increasing to just under $2,000 by 2028. And then this bottom chart then shows the estimated levy increase as a result of the annexations versus the costs. So you can see here, if the annexation is effective 30 days post adoption, and then assuming the first assessment on the city side will take place, and the revenue would start accumulating in 2026. So you can see here, based on that 1.6 million assessed value, we're going to see an estimated levy increase of just under $9,000. And again, showing the increase from 26 to 28 on that side. And then the CCD levy increase is based on the additional road miles. It's again about $800 is assumed for those. And then the estimated additional costs, you can see here the costs start in 2025, so $1,800. And then starting in 2026, the revenue exceeds the cost. And year over year, again, you can see the revenue exceeds the cost associated with the annexations. Certainly, this is assuming that all of these properties stay as they currently are, which is either agriculture or a residential home. But we do anticipate over time that we'll see some LEAP projects coming in, certainly with additional significant investments in these properties. And so these numbers are just based on existing use of the property. Certainly, those will change significantly if and or when there's projects that are assigned to these areas. But this is the fiscal plan for, and this is a cumulative total of all the phase 25 through 35 annexations that are on your agenda for the next 11 items. And then this is one fiscal plan for all of those. And so with that, then I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ben on the fiscal plan for the proposed annexations? Okay. Rob, can you read the resolution, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Council. Resolution 2024-22 establishes a fiscal plan for the annexation of certain territory to the city of Lebanon. Whereas the areas that are legally described in Exhibits A and B are to be annexed into the city. Pursuant to Indiana law, this council is required to adopt a written fiscal plan prior to the passage of annexation ordinances 2024-20 through 2024-30. The required fiscal plan is attached as Exhibit C and has been prepared and presented to this council. The fiscal plan has been reviewed and required and complies with the requirements of Indiana law, and therefore this fiscal plan is hereby approved for the areas sought to be annexed.
Thank you, Rob. Resolution's been read. Any further comments? Any public comment concerning Resolution 2024-22?
Thank you. Jeff Newman. I live at 195 North, 200 West. I have just a couple of quick questions, I guess, or comments. My understanding is IADC still does not pay taxes, correct? To the city or to the county? So the fiscal plan, I believe, takes into account that there would be revenue coming in on those properties, but IADC will own them, so there won't be revenue coming in. That's my understanding. I believe the county has potential negotiation going on with them this Thursday to try to recoup some of the taxes that they're already not receiving. IADC has about 6,000 acres. I don't know that they're paying taxes on any of that. So tens of millions of assessed value, hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase those properties with our taxpayer dollars. There's a 10, 15, 25-year build out. So IADC may be owning those properties for 10, 15, 25 years. So just want you to understand or to ask those questions if you need to. The properties tonight, the city has 1.6 million or so in there, a net assessed value. If you look on GIS or the assessors pages, it's more like 3.4 million for assessed values. So I don't know if homestead or other tax deductions play into that difference or how exactly those difference in numbers come up. And IADC is paying anywhere from 15 to 20 million for these properties that you're looking at that are assessed at 1.6. So just want to make sure the dollars make sense. If that's part of the fiscal plan, is Lebanon actually going to get some of those dollars? And is the county going to get some of those dollars when taxes actually do come due?
Any of your comments? For the public comment? Any further discussion? Or Ben, you want to close on anything?
To the question of the difference in assessed value based on what's here versus what's on the assessor's records, it's assuming those mortgage and or homestead deductions. That's the difference in there, is that Baker Tilly, when they do these fiscal plans, calculates in those deductions that are assumed on the residential property. So that's the difference between the numbers that they use here for purposes of taxing versus what's shown as the total assessed value on those properties on the county tax records.
Hey, Ben, you want to address his question regarding, does the IEDC pay taxes, and when, and will Lebanon be receiving any money in the short term?
Scott may actually be better able to answer that question than I am. I actually don't have the answer to that question as to how the IEDC is determined in terms of taxing entity versus non-taxable entity. I don't have the answer to that question. No.
Yep.
Scott Alexander, I represent the IEDC. I'm with TAF Law. It is correct that IEDC is in discussions with the county with respect to how the county is intending to assess IEDC-owned properties. For present purposes, however, any assumptions in there is assuming that it's just a residential use. As we have indicated previously on the horizon, we've got 1,400 acres that are in the process we think by the end of the year of being converted to commercial use. So the taxes obviously at that point will dwarf any shortfall that may be out there. In addition, we have another 200 acres that has been publicly announced for the Lilly Medicine Foundry. So obviously that will go into the tax rolls as well. So hopefully that responds with respect to the questions. I can't speak on behalf of the county with respect to their views, but I can let you know where things stand from IEDC's perspective.
Scott, is it fair to say that specifically probably about the parcel we're talking about tonight, those aren't going to be held or owned by the IEDC for very long?
Or not very long?
But not very long.
Correct. Very short term.
What do you mean?
They're not going to be an IED. They're going to be transferred to end users in the near term.
To a taxable entity.
To a taxable entity.
Yeah. So the IEDC is going to sell them to a user.
All of it?
The parcels we're talking about tonight, I believe, are included in the projects we're talking about.
Okay, just the parcels tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
The ones that we saw on the chart that Jeff had up there.
Yeah, the one that the fiscal plan is about, and the annexation we're doing tonight, those are all part of
We anticipate those being sold to end users in the near term. That is correct.
Near term as?
Pardon me?
Near term as being?
Near term, from our anticipated perspective, is end of Q1 2025. So you're looking at 4.5 months.
Thanks, Scott.
Welcome.
Any further discussion, comments from council?
No, sir.
Okay. With that, would consider or entertain a motion concerning resolution 2024-22.
I'll make a motion. We approve resolution 2024-22.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That ordinance is adopted, or excuse me, resolution is adopted. All right, next up, Ben, I guess bring up a chair maybe, will be ordinance 2024-20. This is council to consider the LEAP phase annexation, or LEAP annexation phase 25. This is on second reading.
Still have a few steps I need to get for today, so I may go back and forth. But this will start the LEAP phase 25 through 35 annexations. So just a real quick recap for you. These are all 100% voluntary annexations, meaning we do have a petition from existing property owners requesting annexation to the city. They are all, the reason we have phase 25 through 35 is they're not all contiguous to each other. So each one has to be its own individual annexation ordinance, is what you have on this list tonight. These were all considered by the Plan Commission in terms of the steps. It starts with the Plan Commission. They provide a recommendation on the zoning classification to assign to the property. Each one of these comes to you with unanimous recommendation for the LEAP zoning district to be assigned to each one of these annexation ordinances and the properties associated with them. So that's a real quick summary. I will pull up just so we can kind of take a look here at the various locations. So you can kind of see here, there is one slightly larger annexation you see here that's towards the eastern end, that's State Road 32 is to the north there. And then the others are small site, filling in the holes annexations you see scattered around the State Road 32 corridor. And then there is one lonely annexation that's up here just south of the Eli Lilly site along Witt Road that you see here. So this just kind of shows you where these are all filling in holes that were left previously after a previous annexations. And we're just coming back as the IADC gets them under contract and bringing those in, which is why you have all these various pockets here that we're filling in tonight. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. These are on second reading tonight, potential adoption by the council.
And Ben, just to clarify, the numbers on the map match the phase number?
These are the
not
phase numbers,
ordinance
not the ordinance numbers, correct?
Any questions for Ben before we start diving into the reading of the ordinances? Rob, first one up, ordinance 2024-20.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Council, ordinance 2024-20, again, is the LEAP Phase 25 annexation. And we went through this verbatim at the last meeting, so I'll hit the highlights again. As Ben indicated, the LEAP Phase 25 annexation, it's described in Exhibits A and B. Exhibit C is the contiguity requirements that shown as being satisfied. So this council finds that the Phase 25 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B are eligible for annexation and declared to be annexed into the city. The LEAP Phase 25 annexation area satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law. It's assigned Council 2 district, and it will also have the LEAP district zoning classification for the LEAP Phase 25 annexation area. And further, as we discussed before, the council declares upon annexation that this LEAP Phase 25 annexation will be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts as enacted in ordinance 2024-32, and this shall be in full force and effect under Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Questions for Rob from council at this time?
No, sir.
Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-20?
I believe A and B is part of what the RDC was looking at earlier today. So that, I think, is potentially the Redevelopment Commission. That is potentially within the mega site that was supposed to be announced possibly a few weeks ago, right after Lilly. It might be something that is, yes, within the next Q1 to be sold. But again, that's I believe, possibly sold, not a guarantee.
Any for comments? For the public comment? Any further discussion from council? Would entertain a motion then concerning ordinance 2024-20.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2024-20.
If motion approved, is there a second? A second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That ordinance is adopted. Thank you, council. All right, next up, we ordinance 2024-21. This is phase 26. Bring that.
It'd be helpful if I pull up the site maps as you go.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So this is a site map of the phase 26 annexation. The address is 662 North 300 West.
Thank you, Ben. Rob?
Thank you, Mayor. Council. Ordinance 2024-21 is the LEAP Phase 26 annexation. And the two parcels totaling approximately 3 acres are described in Exhibits A and B, and the contiguity requirements are set forth in Exhibit C. And therefore, this council finds that the LEAP Phase 26 annexation areas described in Exhibits A and B are eligible for annexation and declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. The LEAP Phase 26 annexation area satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law, and it will be assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned for this annexation area, and it will also be assigned the Water and Wastewater LEAP Rate District as enacted in Ordinance 2024-32. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect under Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for council?
No, sir.
Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-21?
I believe similar to the other two sites, these are within the 1,600 acre potential mega site. The one thing I should have asked before, and I'm kind of surprised nobody's asking, these are along 32 on LEAP's, the IEDC's long-term plan reroutes 32. So we're talking about water usage as well as road rerouting in these areas. So are these actually going to be sold to this mega site company in the next 3 months? Or is it more likely going to be 2-3 years once roads are changed, et cetera? So things that I think the council should be asking, looking at, thinking about that impacts, again, if you look at IADC's total map of ownership right now and the roughly 6,000 acres, are those actually going to come to fruition in a timely manner that IADC is either going to pay taxes in the interim or is not going to pay taxes in the interim to help provide the services? All of these annexations, you state 1 year for, the term is escaping me. I couldn't get it to print. There's certain uses that you're providing as far as fire, police, other services that don't involve capital expenditures, roads, waters, et cetera. Your statement was that within 1 year, those services would be provided, but then all of these other services would be provided within 3 years, which kind of starts to push that timeline for the new water discussed earlier.
Thank you for comments. Further discussion from council?
Would Scott like to address that question regarding road infrastructure and
Rerouting 32.
rerouting 32, and does it affect the sale or affect the buyer's desire to buy it?
I cannot speak for NDOT. I can tell you what EDC envisions right now. We do envision that State Road 32 will be rerouted, part of it, and straightened. We anticipate that this parcel, along with others, will be closed on. They're subject to an agreement to have an end user purchase these properties. So it doesn't change what we have indicated earlier. As part of these agreements, we're discussing infrastructure improvements with the state and with the end user related to improvement of roads, just like we did with the Lilly property, the grassland site. And all of that is under discussion. With respect to the immediate question before the council, though, this is a voluntary annexation. Is the property owner has requested that this come into the city, and 100% of the folks have requested that. So we believe that the appropriate response here is to annex it into the city. And then obviously we're talking about development issues in other contexts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further comments or questions? Okay. This time then, we would entertain a motion concerning ordinance 2024-21.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2024-21.
Motion approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That ordinance is approved. All right, next will be ordinance 2024-22.
This is the LEAP Phase 27 annexation area, and they pulled it up on the screen here. It's just north of the State Road 32 that you see here. The address is 750 North 250 West.
Good. Rob?
Thank you, Mayor Council. Ordinance 2024-22 is the LEAP Phase 27 annexation. This property is approximately 5 acres described in Exhibits A and B. Exhibit C is the exhibit satisfying the contiguity requirements. Therefore, this council finds that the LEAP Phase 27 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B are eligible for annexation and declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. The LEAP Phase 27 annexation area satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law and is assigned Council District 3. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned for this annexation area, and this shall also be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate district as enacted in ordinance 2024-32, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Questions from council? Is there any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-22? With that,
It's not actually, I guess, directly related to this one. Believe there are at least 5 of the properties that are requested for annex that are already owned by the IEDC. So they aren't owned by individual property owners at this time.
any for comments? Okay. Is there a motion concerning ordinance 2024-22?
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2024-22.
Motion approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Dick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. All right, next will be ordinance 2024-23.
All right, we are now on LEAP Phase 28. And here's a map of the parcel. It is a 2-acre parcel. Address is 3620 West 25 North.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Ordinance 2024-23 is the LEAP Phase 28 annexation. And this is approximately 2 acres that are described in Exhibits A and B. Exhibit C is the exhibit that satisfies the contiguity requirements. Therefore, this council finds that the LEAP Phase 28 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B are declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. This annexation area satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law and is assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned to this annexation area, and this annexation area shall be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts and shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Questions from council? Is there any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-24, or excuse me, 23? And please reintroduce yourself if we didn't hear you the
I'm
first
sorry,
time.
yeah, Jeff Newman, 195 North, 200 West. So again, I'm not necessarily saying that you shouldn't be annexing this M. I'm just saying I think some of the math might be wrong, and I think some of the timelines that the IADC is giving you for sale to other potential developers is misleading or not quite accurate. This does not fit within the 200 acres that Lilly has provided for the medical foundry, nor does it fit within the area identified for the mega site. It kind of sits down over in here. So again, timeline on when these properties are going to be sold, I think, and all the other properties that IADC has purchased, I don't feel like we're being given realistic timelines. I don't feel like you're being given realistic timelines. And so therefore, I think your budget numbers are going to be pretty far off. Are there other options for revenue? Okay, there might be, but I don't think the documents are accurate.
Further public comment? Any further discussion from council? Go ahead, Sandra.
On this map,
Yes.
where's, is 28 right over here on the far left by 27?
Can you bring the map up again, Ben?
Big map up again.
Some of them are into green there because they're excluded, but the rest aren't, so.
This one, yeah, here you go. It's over here. Western half, the southwest quadrant down here.
So we've annexed all of the area around it already?
We've already annexed, other than what you see here, kind of in this lighter tan color, I would suggest, everything around this parcel is already annexed to the city.
So if we didn't annex, we just would have a hole in the middle of the city?
I was just curious because 27 was District 3 and 28 is District 2, and they look like they're right there together. So I didn't know how you were separating the districts.
So 27 is north of 32, and the 32 is the district line between
Yeah.
2 and 3.
Okay, on this map, it looks south of it, so.
Yeah, so when we redistricted last year, we drew the district lines. 32 is the dividing line. The current location of 32 is the dividing line between District 3 and District 2.
Yeah, the map that we have here, it looks the opposite. 28's above, 27 is below.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Sandra.
What's the question?
Showing Sierra here what I'm looking at. But if you look at this map, and I don't know if we have a
Which
different
map
one.
is that?
This is the one we had when we looked at it the last time for the first reading, and he was holding it up earlier. Okay, I don't have that one. Okay. Okay. I'll get a copy of that one then, because I don't have that.
Because I'm not understanding the question.
I'm okay.
Okay. Further discussion?
No, we're working with the Baker Tilly map presented there on the financial plan.
Yes.
So we're working off.
Yep. Okay.
It's attached to the ordinance, the map.
Yeah, the map's on the ordinance.
Yeah, you've
Okay.
been given copies of the maps and the ordinances.
So we're on 20 through 23?
We had, no, we're getting ready. Yeah, we had.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there further discussion on 24, 23? Okay, with that, would entertain a motion concerning ordinance 2024-23.
Right.
A motion that we approve ordinance number 24.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that's approved. All right, next will be ordinance 2024-24.
I believe we're on LEAP phase 29 now. I kind of lost my spot, but I think we're on phase 29. It is a 0.67 acre parcel. The address is 40 South 300 West, and that's what you see here highlighted in yellow. And then I'll go back to the larger map, and you can see phase 29 is kind of south central right here.
Thank you, Ben. Rob?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2024-24 is the LEAP Phase 29 annexation. And the 0.67 acres are described in Exhibits A and B. The contiguity requirements are satisfied in Exhibit C, and therefore this council finds that the LEAP Phase 29 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B is declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. It also satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law, and it's assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned for this annexation area, and it shall be a part of the Water and Wastewater LEAP Rate District as enacted in Ordinance 2024-32, and it shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-24? Any further discussion, comments from council?
No, sir.
Turn to motion. Is there a motion from council concerning ordinance?
We approve ordinance 2024-24.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. All right, next will be ordinance 2024-25. This is phase 30.
All right, phase 30 is a 2-acre parcel. You will see outlined here. We're on 250 West, heading north. This is 1195 North 250 West. I'll quick run back over to the overall map, and you can see phase 30 located here north of State Road 32.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-25 is the LEAP Phase 30 annexation, area that contains approximately 2 acres contained in Exhibits A and B. Contiguity requirements are set forth in Exhibit C. Therefore, this council finds as follows, that the LEAP Phase 30 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B is declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. It also satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law and is assigned Council District 3. Upon the recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP district zoning classification is assigned to this area, and the council further declares that this annexation area shall be part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts and shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Is there any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-25? Discussion, comments from council? No, sir. I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-25.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is adopted. Thank you, council. Next will be ordinance 2024-26. This is phase 31.
Phase 31, you will see here on the screen, it is a 1.13 acre parcel. It's located on State Road 32. The address is 2517 West State Road 32. We'll go back to the other map and you will see that phase 31 is located right here, just on the south side of 32, right before you get to the curve.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-26 concerns the LEAP Phase 31 annexation that's described in Exhibits A and B. The contiguity requirements are set forth in Exhibit C. Therefore, this council finds as follows, that the LEAP Phase 31 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B is declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon, and that it satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law and is assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP district zoning classification is assigned to this area, and it shall be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts and shall be in effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-26? Council discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2024-26.
Good motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. All right, next will be ordinance 2024-27. This is LEAP Phase 32.
All right, LEAP Phase 32 is a 1 acre parcel. This is actually our one lone parcel. It's up on the north end of the LEAP district area. The address here is 3338 North 150 West. You see represented here highlighted in yellow. And again, just to go back to our overall map, okay, this is what you'll see. Phase 32 is located up here. It's actually between 300 North and the Lilly property that's just north of here.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-27 concerns the LEAP Phase 32 annexation areas described in Exhibits A and B. The contiguity requirements are set forth in Exhibit C. Therefore, be it resolved, this council finds that the LEAP Phase 32 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B are declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. It also satisfies the contiguity requirements set forth in Indiana law and is assigned Council District 3. Upon the recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP district zoning classification is assigned to this area, and this area shall be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts and shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-27?
So this is one of the ones, I'm sorry, Jeff Newman, 195 North, 200 West. This is one of the territories or the homes that I don't think is going to be an immediate sale. I can't certainly blame anybody. I don't know if anybody saw Liz Margison's comments on Lebanon Chatter 2.0 today about the dust, the early trucks, the late trucks, the construction Monday through Saturday, early, late, and that they're just worn out by the time Sunday comes. A lot of these are retirement kind of homes, et cetera. So we certainly don't blame anybody for wanting to annex and wanting to sell, but just be cognizant of what the other people in those neighborhoods are going through with that construction, et cetera.
For your comments? Further questions, discussion from council? Okay, would entertain a motion then concerning ordinance 2024-27.
Make a motion, we pass ordinance 2024-27.
Motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Dick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? An ordinance is adopted unanimously. Thank you, council. Next will be ordinance 2024-28. This is LEAP Phase 33.
All right, LEAP Phase 33 is a 2-acre parcel. We're down on West 50 South now. The address is 2530 West 50 South. You see represented here, highlighted in yellow. And we'll go back to the other map and show you, we're going back to the south end here. Phase 33 is down on the south end of the LEAP district here. You see represented on this map.
You been, Rob?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-28 is the LEAP Phase 33 annexation. In this, approximately 2 acres are described in Exhibits A and B, and the contiguity requirements are set forth in Exhibit C. Therefore, this council finds that the LEAP Phase 33 annexation area described in Exhibits A and B is declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. And this area also satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law and is assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District.
Rob, is it 2 or is it 3?
Have it 2 in here.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It's South 32. Yep. Sorry.
Yep. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned to this LEAP Phase 33 annexation area. And this shall be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts. And this ordinance shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thanks, Rob. Just keep you on your toes. Further discussion, comments from council?
No, sir.
Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-28? Is there a motion?
I make a motion we approve ordinance number 20.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. All right, a few more here. Ordinance 2024-29. This is LEAP Phase 34.
All right, LEAP Phase 34 is actually 2 parcels, 5.36 acres total. We are now on South 400 West. The addresses of the 2 parcels are 95 and 175 South 400 West that you see highlighted here in yellow. And we'll go back to the other map and find Phase 34 for you here. And now we're down in the southwest part of the LEAP district. You see represented here, Phase 34.
Thank you, Ben. Rob?
Ordinance 2024-29 is referred to as the LEAP Phase 34 annexation. And this approximately 5.36 acres are described in Exhibits A and B. Exhibit C sets forth the contiguity requirements. This council finds that the LEAP Phase 34 annexation area depicted on Exhibits A and B is declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. The LEAP Phase 34 annexation area satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law and is assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned to this annexation area, and this annexation area shall be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Question, comments from council? Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-29? I would entertain a motion. Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. All right, and last annexation ordinance here tonight will be ordinance 2024-30. This is LEAP Phase 35.
All right, LEAP Phase 35 is the one that's a little bit larger. This is just under 80 acres, about 77.7 acres. That's at the southwest corner of State Road 32 and North 200 West. The addresses, its 2 parcels are 2051 and 2155 West State Road 32. Again, that you'll see highlighted here in yellow on the south side of State Road 32. And we'll go back to the overall map. And again, you see here Phase 35 highlighted here in the pink.
Thank you, Ben. Rob?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-30 concerns the LEAP Phase 35 annexation. This approximately 77.73 acres are described in Exhibits A and B. And contiguity requirements are set forth in Exhibit C. This council finds that the LEAP Phase 35 annexation area depicted in Exhibits A and B is declared annexed into and a part of the city of Lebanon. The LEAP Phase 35 annexation area satisfies the contiguity requirements under Indiana law, and this annexation area is assigned Council District 2. Upon recommendation of the Plan Commission, the LEAP District zoning classification is assigned to this annexation area, and this annexation area shall be a part of the water and wastewater LEAP rate districts, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Is there any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-30?
Jeff Newman, 195 North, 200 West. I don't know if you can bring the map back up or not. Thank you, appreciate it. So you'll see 35 is about 75 acres or so, just across the road from where myself and another half dozen or so families live. Again, I understand IADC, I understand LEAP is going to move forward. I think, Mayor, if you remember a couple of years ago, one of the things that I commented on was just try to do this right. There's a lot of things you can't stop. There's a lot of things that you're legally bound to do. But I'll reference again, Liz Morgansen's Lebanon Chatter 2.0 comments today about the dust, the control not being done, the gravel roads not getting dust control, Flora Lily, the concrete companies, the dump truck companies, the other contractors have not been responsive. They've not felt like they've gotten good response from the city. I don't know that they've gone to the county. Some of them have tried to contact some of their state officials. There's other agencies that they can talk to about air quality, not being able to open up
Sir, can you
garage
keep your
doors and
comments to
windows.
the ordinance, please? We're talking about the
Certainly.
annexation of the ordinance. So-
Yes, and you're going to bring these in with a certain LEAP designation, which is going to allow them to be massive construction sites for the next 2 to 3 years. So as you bring them in and as you designate them within LEAP, then you need to realize what that does to the neighbors beside them. So if you give them a LEAP designation, then what you're saying to the half dozen plus families on the east of it and the half dozen families plus on the west of it, that they will be subject to the same type of construction. There's also, as I mentioned earlier, the 1,600 acres. So now in the next couple of years, there's a real good chance 1,800 acres of development. That can be a great thing for the city, but it's not a great thing for the residents that are living beside them. So try to put in place and try to remember going forward that you need to protect them, you need to talk to them, find out how it's going, find out how the road closures, road developments, so 200 West, we've had surveyors down through 200 West, not just for the purchase, but for the widening of the road. So that's something that it's not even sold, it's not annexed in, but the county and others are already planning to widen the road, or the city's planning to widen the road. So just keep in mind, on some of these, you're not being told everything. And on a lot of them, it's going to have some major, major impact on a lot of families. Already is on the north side.
Thank you for your comments. Further public comment? Question, discussion from council?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion then concerning ordinance 2024-30.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2024-30.
Motion approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, next will be ordinance 2024-31. This is a text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. This is also on second reading. Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to pull up quick map here. All right, I'll just do a quick recap from our discussion at the last council meeting regarding this text amendment to the UDO. This is related to the LEAP district section of the Unified Development Ordinance. And if they want to go ahead and pull this up, this is the current concept map that was associated with the LEAP district designation. And based on some recent users looking at the area and the designation on the concept map, again, a concept map's not intended to be set in stone. This was intended to be able to be modified as users were identified for certain areas. And as you can see here, that State Road 32 corridor was designated as the mega site district area, and we're now seeing some users interested in this area that would fit more in the advanced manufacturing subdistrict, which is this lighter purple color that you see to the north. And so as we're looking at a process or procedure to make adjustments to the concept map as users are identified, the text of the LEAP district didn't make it terribly clear how that will be done. So what this text amendment does is one thing, it does update the concept map to what the information that is known currently about what's happening in the LEAP district and what may happen in the LEAP district. But then the text of the LEAP district section of the ordinance is also updated to provide a process whereby staff would evaluate a project as it's identified and proposed, and then assign it to a subdistrict, either the mega site subdistrict or the advanced manufacturing subdistrict. Clearly, mega sites are intended to be the large single users, so 1,000 plus acres. So it'll be relatively clear when we have a mega site subdistrict how to assign it. And certainly the Eli Lilly Medicine Foundry site, which is 200 acres, fits more clearly within the advanced manufacturing subdistrict. So what we've done here is make some modifications to the concept plan, primarily in the State Road 32 corridor area. So you can see site 17 and site 18 on the north side of 32, the acreage has changed slightly, and site 17 was assigned to the advanced manufacturing subdistrict because it's give or take 380 acres. And then south of State Road 32 is where you see a majority of the changes. Site 23, which is 200 acres, is the Eli Lilly Foundry site, and it's been assigned to the advanced manufacturing subdistrict. And the remainder of this area south of 32 is put into a new hybrid subdistrict that could either be mega site or advanced manufacturing. It is possible that a user will come in and identify a single site that is the remainder of this acreage, and would make sense that it would be in the mega site subdistrict and would be assigned to that category. Or it's possible it could be divided up into acreages similar to what you see here on the concept plan, and may make more sense as advanced manufacturing. But what this does, it allows staff the ability to make that determination without it having to go back to Plan Commission and Council to update the concept map every time that happens. So that's what's the two main elements of this text amendment is, one, to update the concept plan as you see here, and then also set up the procedure in the ordinance to allow staff to make the administrative decision on which sub-district to assign to that user. And as any staff determination, that can always be appealed by the applicant to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that is also set up in that text amendment as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Ben on that? No, sir. Okay. Rob, I'll have you read it, and then I'll do public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-31 is an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Lebanon Unified Development Ordinance. There's a summary right in the beginning of the page of this ordinance. There are several pages, but it talks about the text amendment seeking to amend the concept plan and the boundaries of the LEAP district, as well as setting forth the method for determining sub-district designations has been described. So I won't go through that in detail. There's several recitals in this ordinance that you've been given read, and those are incorporated by reference. Again, Section 2 talks about the applicability of the ordinance. Section 3 goes through the definitions and rules of construction in the ordinance, as well as touches on the concept plan. Section 4 amends the sub-district descriptions, as Ben was indicated. Section 5 also addresses the amended conceptual plan and the perimeter. And then Section 6 addresses the administrative review process that Ben was describing. And the effective date of this ordinance shall be in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any further questions, discussion from council? Okay. Any public comment concerning ordinance 2024-31? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that is adopted. Thank you, council. Would council like a brief recess, a little break here, or are we going to keep going? Keep going? Shut on? All right, here we go. All right, that concludes what I have for old business. Anything from council? Okay, new business then. First item up, I don't see Chief. There he is. There's Chief Batts popped up in the back for me. Chief, you want to still present the merit board?
promise this will be brief. Apologize for
We're
bringing
okay.
out PowerPoint at 8:30.
We're not even close to our longest meeting ever, so we're fine. We're totally fine.
No, but I don't want to be responsible for it. This will be quick and painless. About a month and a half ago, I sent out an email with all this information in it. It's not oh, there we are. It's not how I want it to look. Just a second. About a month and a half ago, I sent out an email with this PowerPoint in it for you guys to go over and see if it generates any questions. Quick overview. Been working with the mayor the last 5 or 6 years to develop a merit board for the fire department. And after discussions, we've decided to move forward with the project. And I wanted to bring you guys up to speed. A lot of what a merit system is, we're already doing. And some of it has some new components. So we'll go over those really quick. What is a merit system? It applies to career, police, and fire departments, and they're separate commissions. So the fire department will have theirs, the police department will have theirs, and this is all a part of Title 36. This allows for civilian oversight on hiring, promotion, discipline, and termination. It adds another layer of professionalism to the department and transparency. It gives everyone, including the community, a bigger voice. Career departments, districts, or territories with at least 12 full-time fire department or full-time members serves at least a population of 20,000. So with the city of Lebanon and then Harrison and Clinton Township, we definitely meet that criteria. So this enhances public safety and it depoliticizes the department with how we break down our elected and appointed members of the merit board. We believe that this also gives members of the department a voice in the process. You can see the timeline. We're not going to go over it bit by bit, but the reason why we're doing this tonight and we didn't want to push it back anymore is we're actually wanting to get this up and running January 1. And the department's already working on their component and you have a component to do as well. So we wanted to make you aware of that so you could begin looking at it. So essentially, this is going to happen unless the council would not want it to happen. And the council did not want a merit system for the fire department. They could bring it to a vote and the department could challenge that vote, winning by a majority. So the breakdown, 2 appointed by executive unit, different political parties. So this would be Mayor Gentry's appointees. And again, they would have to be from 2 different separate political parties and 1 appointed by the legislative body, and that is you. So that could be a sitting member of the board that qualifies or a member of the community in the city of Lebanon proper or in Harrison or Clinton Township. And then 2 elected by the active members, different political parties. The department's already reached out to a couple people to see if they're interested, and they are. So what we're going to do is ask for resumes, send them out to the department, and then we'll just bring it to a vote. So going over this very quickly, it's 4-year alternating terms. We are going to break that down for the first 2 years and do 2-year terms for our appointees. And we're going to ask Mayor Gentry to do the same so we can get that 2 to 4 year rotation so we don't have a new merit board every 4 years. Reside in the service area, be 21 years of old, pay them a per diem, maximum 2 retired public safety. And this next part would affect Councilman Copeland and Hawkins, no active public safety. Councilman Hawkins serves as a school resource officer, and then Councilman Copeland is with the sheriff's office and the courthouse, and that would exempt you from being on the board since you're active public safety. There's a lot of discussion in here, the nuances of having a president, vice president, and secretary. We'll be doing those things. As I said before, this would be promotions, demotions, and discipline, and this would be subject to, the hiring would be subject to pension law. So we're not going to do anything any different than the 77 fund would allow when hiring new firefighters. So I'm going to go over this very quickly because we're already doing this with Title 36 when it comes to discipline and termination. So talking about the 10-day notice. Oh, excuse me. This is adopting commission rules. So we have a list of rules with hiring, and essentially it would become merit law. We would present it to our merit board and they would vote on it. Rules must be delivered within 30 days. It just discusses the nuances of adopting the rules. We do applicant testing now. Eligibility list for our new hires is 2 years. Again, a lot of the things that are in this we're currently doing. Ranked in order of eligibility, doing that. Discussing probationary members. So the competitive process considered by the commission, we are doing all of these items. We've actually even added some components about doing an oral presentation and how it's broken down. So essentially, we're going to take our current system with our promotion process and bring it to the merit board, creating merit law with it. This is a breakdown of percentages with our promotion processes. Again, we're doing this now, but there would be nothing to prevent myself going in and changing the rubric if I wanted to. There's no check and balance. I could just say, hey, we're just going to switch this up and we're going to do this and this. And I come up with these, or the next fire chief for that matter, come up with random percentages and just manipulates the rubric. Under merit law, if we wanted to change the rubric, we could not exceed this. And we would have to go to the merit board to adjust any percentages that we have. Does that make sense? It covers blind grading. Again, doing that. This is discussing if you wanted to challenge the promotion process, how you would go about it. We do something very similar with this now, as our candidates can go in and challenge test questions. Fire chief makes recommendation to the commission. So with this, not to jump ahead, this concerns our merit employees. So the fire chief and the deputy chiefs would still serve appointed by the mayor. Their discipline would come from the mayor and potentially the Board of Works. Again, this is reprimand, suspend without pay, demote, terminate. Those would be all things the merit board would cover. And I'm not going to go through each of these. These are all listed in Title 36. We are doing all these items currently. All the suspensions, the hearings, all of those things are currently being done by the city of Lebanon. The member may demand a hearing within 5 days of being served charges. Again, doing that as a part of Title 36 currently. This applies to full-time firefighters. Again, transcript of the discipline, providing all that currently. That is the very quick presentation of the merit board. And this is not to take away from the Board of Works and the job they're doing. The Board of Works would still exist, but those items that we covered would be handled by the merit board. And we feel like this is the right move for the department, and we wanted to give you guys the information so you could start discussing among yourselves how you want to move forward with your appointee, whether you want that to be someone from the board or someone from the community. And if you have any thoughts on who that might be, discuss it between yourselves. And if you would, send me an email because we're really trying to get this squared away, and we would like to be up and operational in January. Do you have any questions for me?
So what I would say is, I think this obviously makes sense. I mean, Lebanon, we've been moving towards this essentially process, not, I guess, formally. I mean, formally, yes, but not like as formal as this process is by actually implementing the system. But a lot of these things we're already doing, frankly, because of Chief Batts' great leadership and seeing the value of this. And I think the thing I had to kind of wrap my head around, like, well, why do we need to do this? Chief Batts won't be the chief forever. And so frankly, it's a way to make sure that there are some guardrails to provide protection for our firefighters, because we're strictly talking about a merit board for firefighters, not for police in this situation. This is
Yeah,
strictly
if they
for-
wanted, if the police department wanted to do a merit board, that's their decision.
So this is about the fire department, right? We may not always have a great chief, right? We may not always have a mayor that picks a great chief or whatever, right? So it gives our firefighters kind of that understanding, the protections that, hey, they know the rules. There's civilian oversight of it that makes sure that everybody knows what we're talking about. And you don't have someone that could theoretically, which we've been blessed, it hasn't happened here. But you hear stories around the community. Sometimes people are moving goalposts, picking their friends, doing things like that. And that's frankly a way to crush morale in a department. So we've been blessed. We haven't had to deal with these problems, right? But it's not unheard of. And frankly, this is kind of this putting it in rock that gives these protections to our guys with it. So obviously by taking no action, we essentially are opting into it. That's the course of action I would recommend to this council. I do think it's the right path forward. But again, with that comes, we'll have to think about who you guys want to appoint with that. So
Frankly, this takes away some of the power of the mayor and the fire chief within the department and puts it back into the department, electing their members, puts it into the council by you appointing your member, and then the mayor has two as well. So it takes that power, some power away from the fire chief and the mayor, and it just depoliticizes the department, making it much more transparent. One thing that I didn't bring up through the slides is it does change how the mayor appoints a fire chief. So if the mayor would choose to appoint a fire chief from outside the city of Lebanon Fire Department, it would take a majority vote by the council to approve it. So let's say, Mayor X hires Fire Chief Y from department whatever, and you do not feel like it's the right fit, you have a voice in that, and you would have a vote for or against it.
but if it's from the department, there isn't a vote.
But yes, if it's from within the department, then there is no vote. So again, it's carving some power away from the mayor, truthfully.
I think it's a good idea. Real good.
We appreciate that. Like we said, we've been discussing this for 5 or 6 years, and we just feel like it's time to move on it.
What other communities around us, Chuck, have?
Right here, the Boone County Sheriff's Office has had a merit
They
system
had one
for many
for
years. The Noblesville Fire Department, the Westfield Fire Department, many fire departments across Indiana use a merit system.
We essentially have a merit system in all but name. I mean, it functions like one.
We do.
But
We
it's
have an
not-
informal merit system. I mean, we even say merit lieutenant, merit captain, but the system hasn't truly been built for that. We use it as a generic term, and our employees are protected by city policy. So as an example, Captain Doherty tonight, if he can only go back, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a merit battalion. When I go back to shift, when I'm no longer fire chief, we get a new mayor. He makes a different decision to go a different direction with the fire chief. I'm protected within the system. I would go back to my last merit rank, which is battalion. Chief Young sitting in the audience, he's a merit captain. He would go back to a merit captain. So it locks you in and protects you at your current rank. No one can take that away from you unless there's formal discipline through the merit board. If there's any other questions generated.
My other question is, board members are compensated, and how are they?
Well, we are wanting to develop a per diem for the merit board members.
It would probably be similar to the way we do Board of Works.
Yes.
So we'd have to figure that out, but we'd work through that.
And we would set it up that we would meet quarterly if there's an agenda. But we are very blessed at Lebanon Fire. We do not have a lot of discipline issues. So if there's no
Knock on
agenda,
wood, Chief, please, right now.
Say again?
Knock on wood on that podium
Oh.
right now, please. Thank you.
so if there's no agenda, there's no reason to have a merit board meeting. So we've had a lot of promotions this year for different reasons. That would cause a lot of activity with the merit board. Again, if you have any questions that you think of later, please don't hesitate to call me, email me. We can meet and discuss it and get your feelings on it moving forward.
Good. All right. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up, we have a food and beverage request, kind of a discussion also. We have Jennifer Rubenstein from the IEDC, or not IEDC, goodness gracious, Boone EDC. And this is about the one eating color.
Thank you, Mayor. For those who don't know me, I'm Jessica Schwartz. I'm our VP of
Say
Economic Development. It's okay. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. Very quickly, we have something exciting of an opportunity through the ARC of Greater Boone County and the READY grant. It's okay.
So sorry. It's been a long day. I apologize.
Both redheads. Can't help it.
And both J's, it just gets confusing.
With grant dollars that we have received, and ARC of Greater Boone County, who is a nonprofit here in Lebanon off of 900 West Main Street, our intent is to build out a sensory garden for all 5 senses, not just for those who are a part of ARC, but also for the community. And so our request for you this evening, we currently have a $20,000 gap in funding for this park. And that's our goal, to meet the match for the grant. We've had conversations, if I may mention, about the city becoming the owner of the park for long-term maintenance. And so my request this evening is for the close-in gap so that we may bring a new park to the city.
Sarah, I believe they met with you, talked about it. If you wanted to, can you grab the microphone?
We met and with the Food and Beverage Committee. Sorry, can you hear me now? The Food and Beverage.
Your mic not working?
It's not red.
So the Food and Beverage Committee, we met to go over the new project, the sensory gardens they were talking about. And we felt like the project was more a council decision versus just the Food and Beverage Committee, because they are requesting more funding than we typically handle. I don't know if you could expand a little bit more on what exactly the park's going to include. I know you said it's going to touch on all 5 senses, and it is going to be partnered with the ARC. And it's the property that has the in between. Excuse me.
It's right next to the trail.
Right next to the trail, but
on the-
it's Titus and the ARC. It's that property across the street, right from the ARC.
That open grass field
Yeah,
there
for
on the
everybody
corner
at
of
home.
Main and Patterson.
Yes.
Patterson, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to provide a little bit of context, but to be fair, where we are in the process is simply that we have a vision. We have gone through the scoring process post RFP for the artist. We did create a scoring committee. And so we have an artist selected should we be able to fund this project. And then the committee will be able to work with the artist in creating this sensory garden open to the public. So you're thinking, do you do wind chimes for sound? I mean, we're talking big dollars, so I'm talking bigger scale, but it gives you a sense of what this looks like, not just for disabled, but for community involvement right off of the trail. Another place for families to enjoy time. Also, perhaps an outlet for mental health, not a resource, just more of an outlet in the city.
Are you guys envisioning more as a like a little pathway that goes through a garden with some benches or something along that aspect? Is that?
Perhaps any of it.
Okay.
I realize this is a big request for not a concrete plan, just because we're waiting for the commissioners to approve the contract for all of our 180 grants. Once that contract is reviewed and approved, we will be able to send it to the artist. We have several of these projects right now in different parts of the county. And then from there, once we are in contract with the artist, then we'll be able to work with them to design the park. This is good timing just for the fact that we don't have it entirely funded. I'm waiting for the contract back to be able to send it to the artist and know if we would be able to have this project funded to be able to build it out, so to speak.
And have you talked with the park board about their thoughts on the park potentially taking over? I know you had made a comment about that. So has the park board been like in conversation?
They have not really. Again, I wanted to bring
Not that far yet?
We have not, because when this first started, it was like they came to me and says, "Hey, do you think this makes sense?" And I said, "Well, I know we don't. If we're going to invest money into a park, I would think that we would want to own that, right?
That's why I was just.
And that's so really we're just kind of hinging if we feel like we want to move forward with this, then we could then certainly have those conversations with the park board and as this goes forward. But I just didn't want to bring it to us to you guys to say, well, we're gonna put all this money in and then we won't actually own the thing.
Right.
That's kind of where I was like, didn't want to cross that stream. So that was not your, that's why you're welcome. So this is from me. So. And again, I wanted to have this conversation about this because I do think, obviously, as the trail is being more and more used, right? Certainly, I think it's another kind of amenity. It's another piece of, frankly, I see it as also as an art piece as well, right?
Absolutely.
We're trying to bring vibrancy, life, color. Certainly, there's a tie very closely with a local nonprofit there that serves a very unique community there that would benefit from it. I see a lot of positives from it, and certainly as the public can enjoy it as well too. Certainly, I know it's not an easy ask, and I'm necessarily asking if we have it, but we can't just like we don't have to vote on it tonight. From my understanding, we can work through it if we need to, but I just want to at least bring it to our attention as a kind of a concept to think about and see, frankly, if we think it's worthwhile to continue to pursue it.
So we're not voting to give money tonight.
If everybody's saying, hey, we all think this is a great idea, we love it, certainly we could do that. But if we need to kind of sit on it, let it stew, we could maybe think about it some more. We don't necessarily have to vote, because I'm trying to remember what the deadline of the grant it was.
The work has to be completed by the end of 2025. Mm-hmm.
But it's a check through the 180 group, right? So
Yes.
It's not like we have to have it done by the end of this year. It's kind of
I think the funds have to be allocated and committed July 31st, 2025.
Okay. So which, and obviously building a sensory garden park, we're going to call it, we're not just building a structure, right? So it's a little bit quicker, right? So there's a timeline, but it's not like it's got to be done by end
By
of
that
November.
time, would you have more plans then for us to look at rather than just, because I think it's a great idea. I said that in the meeting, but I would rather see a little more concrete plans instead of just handing a blank check.
Yeah.
I think we need to see a little more, make it contingent or something like that on what we see.
I assumed this would be a continued conversation, especially as we talk dollars into 2025 and the council's budget for consideration, and obviously a large ask. So I'm more than happy to provide further details as we go through this. And the artists being selected, obviously contracting them and starting to have some more details of what this looks like. It's a little hard to wrap your mind around what is a sensory park. But the one thing that's good to consider is even as an EDC of all the developments we do from an economic standpoint, it's good to also look at the quality of life standpoint too.
Yes. What do you think the whole all-in cost of the project was?
I believe it's 80,000.
So from a grant between other funding, the matching grant, right? So it's about a quarter would be where we'd be coming from, so.
You're talking $80,000 total for the park at the corner of Main and Patterson?
To turn that grass field into a sensory.
This 180 makeover is for several, it's a project with several other locations
It is.
around the county. What's the
Yeah.
total amount?
The
of
total,
that?
total amount. In the neighborhood of 16 million that was given to the state, and then we divided it up into counties, and I'd have to look and add up all the math.
This is Ready 1.0.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a considerable amount of money.
It's a considerable amount. Other projects you may see in Lebanon, the Lido building, working on a mural for that. Let's see.
We have some facade program that we've been through we have done those, approved this, right? So that's been a facade mostly for the city of Lebanon. But other communities though, you did a mural and
We're in process.
Mural in
Mr.
process.
Krulik is in process with a few of his projects with the grant as well. So we've spread the love.
Yeah, but it's kind of under that umbrella of that one over the kind of the activation, arts and culture essentially kind of piece of that.
I think this would be a really great addition if it all pans out, and I definitely am supportive of it. Hope to get more information about it in the future, and thank you for doing all the work to put this forward. I think it's a really cool idea, and the city could really benefit from it.
Well, I appreciate your consideration, given that it's just a concept at this point. More than happy to circle back around once I'm further in the details.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about the name again. It's going to stick with me all night. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. I feel absolutely terrible. All righty. Next up, last thing up will be ordinance 2024-33, amending the general terms and conditions for the electric service. Jeff?
Council, again, my name is Jeff Jacob. I'm the attorney for Lebanon Utilities. I'm here with Ed Baskell, the general manager, Jeff Greeno, the electric operations manager, and I wrangled Scott Miller to stick on for this item as well. Before you tonight on first reading is an ordinance amending our general terms and conditions of electric service. Think of this as sort of our service contract with each of our customers, and it governs how we do business, what our requirements are and what our customers' requirements are. This is not a rate ordinance. It's not a rate ordinance change. This is a service condition in how we, again, do business with our customers. Now, if you recall earlier this summer, I was in front of you with an ordinance asking that the electric utility be removed from the Indiana Regulatory Commission jurisdiction. That was approved, and that we have successfully extracted ourselves from the IURC. They have accepted that ordinance, and so we are officially out. I'm pleased to report. This ordinance in front of you is part of that initiative, and one of the reasons that we wanted to move outside of the IURC so that we could pivot a little bit more quickly and make changes like what's in front of you this evening. Our current general terms and conditions establish a process of which we do business for a developer or property owner, and it's sort of a slow growth model. The way that it happens, a developer comes in or a property owner and they want to establish electric service for a site. We will either ensure that we have power to that site, and that may mean improvements on the utility side, lines, and the like, making sure that we have the appropriate service available. Then our staff meets with the developer and helps design and engineer the electric system on the site itself, how we're going to get, in the case of a residential development, how we're going to get power to the variety of homes. Then once the project is approved, the utility acquires, installs, and maintains the off-site system improvements as well as the on-site for that particular project. Now, the difficulty with that is that that's a model that's not very often used, and it's a little bit, as mentioned, in a more of a slow growth model for a community. And that is all done at our existing ratepayers' expense. Now, there are some exceptions and nuances to our system that I'd be happy to get into with you, but that's generally how the process works. Now, what we are proposing is a shift, and that shift distinguishes between on-site cost and off-site costs very basically. So a developer or property owner comes in, wants to build, they have a project, they will meet with the utility, go through with the planning department and the city engineer. The utility will help design the on-site system. Again, it's going to be a system that's built to our standards that our crews will maintain and operate. We will ensure that the off-site system is built sufficiently to support that project. The distinction then becomes when we get to the on-site cost. Lebanon Utilities will pay for the off-site cost, making sure, again, there's some nuances there, but making sure that we have sufficient power to get there. Again, the distinction comes when we get to the on-site cost, and the developer or property owner would then be asked to bear the cost for the transformers, the trenching, any of the facilities that we need to distribute power throughout that project. This is more in line with what other utilities do, such as REMC. And a couple of notes from the ordinance in front of you. There was a clarification made on page 2 on the timing, that this would apply to any project that has not received construction permit approval from the city of Lebanon. And then a clarification on page 1 that talks really of why we've push this initiative as quickly as we have, and that is we have seen tremendous increase in costs. Mr. Greeno is here this evening. You talk a little bit about transformer costs going up upwards of 200% and lead times from several months to several years. And so it's taken on a fair amount of planning and projection by the utility and cost. And so as we heard earlier tonight, what we're wanting to do is have development pay for development. Simple as that. This comes to you tonight with a unanimous favorable resolution recommending, from the utility board recommending approval of this ordinance. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Jeff, questions for Jeff from the council?
So the old system or the current system is the developer pays a certain fee for each residential hookup, correct?
They do, but
Like
that is part of the fee that goes for the service. This is the infrastructure cost. So that is a separate element altogether. So when a developer comes in, that's part of the meter cost. That's the hookup fee. This is the infrastructure that is installed within the blank slate of the project. So let's say, for example, we needed to upgrade from single phase to 3-phase to service a project. Now, there is a nuance in this ordinance that I want to be clear that we talk about just a bit, and I thank you for this question. If we believe that the project cost exceeds the 2.5-year payback, then we may ask the developer to participate in that offsite cost. And that is sort of what I've been referring to as the parachute provision, that if this is an exorbitant cost that we don't foresee making our money back to protect ourselves, we may sit down and the utility board would reach an agreement with that developer. But for the most part, by and large, the offsite expense would be borne by the utility, and the on-site infrastructure cost, the trenching, the pulling of conduit and wire. The big one that we've seen in more of the commercial projects are the transformers. And that's really, really what's driven the bus here, is that transformers have been extremely difficult to get a hold of. and they're extremely expensive.
Because
And
today, the Lebanon Utilities buys the transformer, whereas under this
correct, with the
ordinance.
nuance of a similar, under our current system, if we did not believe there was going to be a partial payback of the project cost through utility bills, the developer may be asked to make a deposit, a refundable deposit, but the mayor is correct that right now, presently, if there is a transformer that we need to acquire to service project, utility goes out and acquires that transformer and installs it.
So in the past, the fees the developer, the residential developer charged, that did cover the cost of the infrastructure. Is that correct?
That was for the meter. Those are for the meters and the individual hookups. That doesn't have to do with the infrastructure cost.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Couple things, Mike. Tim Hudson, Lebanon Utility Study Board. The costs now are all borne by the utility, by Jeff and his crews. This year, we have a budget on the electric side this year for $1.5 million for transformers only. That's us paying for development. That's what this is getting rid of. The second piece of that, directly to your question, the only thing a developer pays for right now is the hookup to the house. They didn't pay for the burying of the electric throughout the neighborhood. They didn't pay for the engineering. All right. They didn't pay for the wire. They didn't pay for any of that. So the example I'll use is you and I live near Cedar Ridge. All right. We've spent more than $100,000 just to bury cable in that neighborhood that we have paid for, that this now transfers to the developer. It says, in your neighborhood, you need to bring all these costs into your development budget, not on the utility budget. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, yeah. I thought the costs were being covered anyway.
It sounds like not.
It is by the Lebanon Utilities, not by the developer.
All
This
right.
is different than water and wastewater.
Okay, I guess I lumped it all together.
Yeah, there is not, and that may be something that we talk about into the future, but there is not the traditional availability fee that you're used to seeing for water and wastewater.
Okay.
The fee that was charged was basically a hookup fee. It was a meter fee, and they paid for the meter for that individual residential unit.
This probably gets it actually closer to what, more like how the water wastewater utilities operate from the standpoint of the developers are paying or doing the installation of the infrastructure themselves versus the city doing it.
Correct.
or
To our
utilities-
standards,
utilities.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that was part of the model and thinking that on-site cost, and that's where we drew the distinction between on-site and off-site.
I think.
Further questions, comments? Anybody else you wanted to, oh, sorry, go ahead, sir.
Microphone.
They said the mic's working, but it's just not lights going on, but yeah, so. Either way.
Anyways, I just have a general question. I don't know who might be able to answer it, but I know that we've had problems with getting transformers for years now because the price just keeps going up and it's harder and harder to find. Is there a solution to that? Do they know why it's increased?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's all sort
substantially?
of, Mr. Greeno could, I'm sure, speak to that if I don't cover it. But there have been, shipping costs, labor costs, fuel costs, and, that is an area. And, we are also a smaller utility, and we don't have the buying leverage that other larger utilities do. And so Mr. Greeno and his department have done a lot of planning, some stockpiling, some borrowing and shifting, and being creative. There have been some refurbished and reconditioned transformers that have been purchased that will be cycled out and will be held in reserve. So they've done a fantastic job meeting as we all are aware, a very quick ramp up of demand of development in this community and accommodating that. So, this is a culmination of one of the reasons why we wanted to pivot very quickly out of the IURC so that we could shift those costs onto the development community or property owner as they develop their own lot.
Is it going to cause the developer, or do you foresee them having a hard time getting a transformer and that could potentially hold them up? If that makes sense?
We will still be in control of that process.
Okay.
So once they pay us, then we will order transformers.
Okay.
And so, it's sort of a put your money where your mouth is kind of process. So we will still be in charge of it. We'll be the one that's ordering that specific transformer that meets our specs, that our crews are familiar with, that we know meets certain safety specifications.
Further questions, comments?
Nope.
Anybody else you wanted to have speak on this? I think we're
I
good.
think everybody's heard enough, so thank you, though.
Fair enough. All right. All right, Rob, you read the ordinance, please? Highlights possible?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2024-33 is an ordinance amending the general terms and conditions of the electric service for the city of Lebanon. As Mr. Jacob indicated, the cost of transformers, wires, other equipment for newly developing areas of the city have significantly increased. Therefore, the general terms and conditions for electric service that are attached here as Exhibit A are incorporated by reference, and this council finds that those terms and conditions are amended consistent with Exhibit A. And the amendment to the general terms and conditions, subject to Section 4 below, shall apply to projects that have not received a construction permit approval from the city of Lebanon. And this ordinance shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. All right, ordinance 2431 has been read on first reading. We'll take that up at our next meeting, which will be, 2433, excuse me. We'll take that up at our next meeting, which will be November 25th at 7:15 p.m. That concludes what I have for new business. Is there anything from council?
No, sir.
Okay, move on to claims. Or there's any motion concerning the claims?
Pay the claims?
Motion to pay the claims. Is there a second? Second from John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any announcements or discussion?
I'd like to congratulate Western Boone High School for winning the 2A state championship in volleyball. I think they did a great job. They're a very good class, and I just appreciate all that they did.
Well said. Anything else? Okay. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn in a second from Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Again, our next city council meeting will be November 25th at 7:15 p.m. We are adjourned.